let me shift here, and I just want to talk a little bit about silence. Silence, my sisters and brothers, has many dimensions. There is a sacred silence, which is that silence out of which creative contemplation grows. It's a meditation on the word and the will of God. It's the silence out of which we meditate and get closer to God. It's the silence in which fervent prayer is born. There is a sacred silence. But then there's a seething silence that comes when you are quiet externally, but you've got a storm going on the inside. The late Dr. Howard Thurman called that a noisy quietness. But then finally, and here's the silence I want to get to, there is a sinful silence. And Adam's silence falls into this category because a sinful silence is a silence that comes over you when you ought to say something, but you don't say nothing at all. It is that silence that creeps in when you ought to speak up for God, but you sit there acting like you don't know what God said. My sisters and brothers, I fear that Adam was not only silent on that fateful day in the garden when a serpent showed up, but Adam has remained silent through the centuries. When Africans were captured and taken from their homeland, packed in the hulls of ships, sold on auction blocks, beat and killed and misused and kept in chattel slavery, Adam was silent. When Jews were persecuted, deported, and murdered by Nazis, Adam was silent. When Native Americans were slaughtered in the acts of genocide so their land could be taken from them, Adam was silent. When our ancestors were lynched and called boy and girl, even though they were full grown, when they were denied employment and equal access to resources, Adam was silent. And today, far too often, when our boys are shooting and killing each other on the streets, and our girls suffer from low self-esteem and give birth to children whose daddies won't stay around to take care of them, Adam is still silent. Sisters and brothers, there is a sinful silence among us when injustice is raging and we remain quiet. When people are aching, when people are hurting, when babies are crying and dying of hunger and not having enough love from insufficient care, and we remain silent, that is a sinful silence. When the church looks and sees what's going on in its communities, and not just in its communities, but what's going on right there in the household of faith, and we sit there and act like we don't know what's going on, that is a sinful silence. And let me suggest that there's a time when silence is sinful. And here in the text, we see a snake talking to Adam's wife. Adam remains silent. Adam should have said something. My sisters and brothers, the nation is waiting for somebody to say something. Go on, touch your neighbor and tell him you ought to say something. You see them boys on the corner, you ought to say something. You see what's happening with those sisters. I'm not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and them. I'm talking about the saints' children. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here today. You ought to say something. The classroom is waiting for somebody to say something. Youth violence is waiting for somebody to say something. Every community, every city, every town, every home, every boy, every girl, every family is waiting for the church to break the silence. And if we don't break the silence, let me tell you what's going to happen. If we don't break the silence, we end up embracing the appeals of the serpent. What are the appeals of the serpent? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Gotta tell themselves it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now, may not get it next week, you might try to stop me from getting it, but if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime. Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. Thank you, Jesus. Hey, I don't have no $100,000 year thoughts, $200,000. I got $1 thoughts, baby. You better think, because the Bible says, as a man thinks. The reason we hate is because what we think we are. Thank you, Jesus. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 6 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. Great way to start out your week. I hope everybody had a happy new year, Merry Christmas, and all that good stuff. Welcomes to another edition of the spoken word here in 2022. To everyone who is listening over WTCC, throughout the Pioneer Valley, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, all points in the Pioneer Valley. Welcome to each and every one of you. Call a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. And they need to get on here because we got some important things to talk about, family. Welcome to our internet audience, to everybody who is streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, on I'm back up on Instagram, it might only last this week. Every time I've gone live on Instagram over the past several months, I go live and then they would restrict me, and then I couldn't get on for a month, and then I'd go live and they restrict me again. So I haven't been on for 5 weeks on the gram. So welcome to the gram. I'm back. I don't know how long, but I'm here now. Welcome to TikTok. First time live doing a radio show on TikTok. I don't even know how to do that, but I'm on. So we're gonna see what happens. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Love to know what part of the world you are coming in from. 413-337-1867 is the number here to chime in on the conversation. Coming up at 10 o'clock, we transition into Justice and Flow. So stay with us. The next 2 hours is going to be power-packed for sure. For this hour, though, we're talking about the Black Vote 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. 2020, I see Colorado Springs, Colorado up in the house. Black Vote 2022. All you're going to hear Democrats talking about now until the elections, welcome to the Bronx, New York, Washington, D.C., they're going to be talking about the midterm elections. Unfortunately, I think they've let us down since the 2020 election. That's my opinion. And I'd love to get your opinions. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is in the hizzy. I would love to get your opinion on that as well. Jacksonville, Florida is up in here. So we're going to talk about that. What are black voters going to do in 2022? We have been the most reliable source of votes for Democrats, but they can't seem to deliver anything for us. I mean, Joe Biden was able to deliver a crime bill that doubled mass incarceration of black folks within 10 years when he was in the Senate. He can't seem to barter with those senators to get voting rights done or to get police reform done. And I know people are going to be like, well, it's Manchin and Sinema. Look, They need to be able to check the people in their party and get it done for the voters who put them in office. That's the bottom line. There we go. The phone lines are coming up already. Let's see what's happening here. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good, good. Well, I love the title. I love your show. I appreciate you even bringing this up. I just think it's very important for us to have a conversation. I mean, recently we just lost a great activist, pioneer, and law professor,
Lonnie Guinier. Yes.
And she had a quote that she said, in a racially divided society, majority rule is not a reliable function of democracy. And I would like for you to expound on that. Also, as you well know, Malcolm X used the white liberal and the white conservative. He used the analogy of the fox and the wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you're well aware of it. But for the listeners who may not briefly, Malcolm basically described the white conservative as the wolf. Mm-hmm. Loud, like like the sheep are ready to run away, to get away from that wolf. The white liberal is more like very quiet, going to be sly and slick. He's going to walk. He's not going to attack you right away, and make you comfortable thinking that he's not really after. And then at some point he gets into, let's go for a walk in the woods, and that's the one that ends the lamb chop. So
yeah.
On that notion, and I would probably say that the Democrats failed us a little bit longer than that. I would even go back to 20, a little bit longer than that. But for the purpose of today's show, yes, 20. And then they most definitely failed to see bills that were passed effectively for the Asian community, for the LGBT community, everybody.
For everybody, for hunchbacks and bow-legged people and everybody but black people.
Absolutely. If you got a bum leg and you're hopping, you got a bill. Mm-hmm. Everybody got a bill except black vote, who, as you pointed out, have been consistent, reliable voting bloc for that party. So and we're being treated as such. And I think part of that is how we're using our vote. And Dr. Claude Anderson about that a little while, or on many occasions as well. Whereas we don't, unlike a lot of other, we don't balance out our power and utilize our leverage. We have one party who says, well, we don't need those Negroes, and we can win without them. And we got another party that says, look, they ain't got nowhere else to go. All we got to do is give them a little symbolism. Let's bring a little holiday over here.
Yeah.
Let's put a picture over here. Let's hire a black face to take this position over there.
Let's wear some kente cloth.
Mm-hmm. That's all we got to do, and they're going to come running because they are going to give us. We don't have to cater to them. They're going to give us their vote, and we don't. Nothing else in this world do we give away something for nothing in return other than our vote, and then we're trying to ask ourselves, why are we in the same position? So I don't want to take up too much of your time, sir. I appreciate your show. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, appreciate your call. All right, 413-337-1867. Short break, and we'll be right back. We're going to continue. He started us off in a good way in terms of this conversation. So we're going to continue that. I see Dallas, Texas up in the house. Maryland is in the house. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Don't you go nowhere. We're coming right back.
Yeah, this one is for all the brothers that passed, more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember my sister gave me the call and I was in awe. Matter of fact, it felt the farthest from reality. She seen somebody post RIP with his name and I said I doubt it's the same friend I had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check and call me back. Said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling lonely and weak. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of. Cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. Just under 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was hard. He was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst feeling is knowing that you would leave us in all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. Is that information I wouldn't have ever imagined. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, was born the son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do mine with rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me. It started off with little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public, cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, is it that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me. But please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Don't discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't pointing fingers, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all, because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. So glad that it made me. Yeah, baby.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, and stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
All right, 90.7 WTCC, you're listening to the spoken word with your boy, Bishop Talbert Swan the second. We're talking about Black Vote 2022. K.A. Pulling said we should get to the point where we are determined to live by no one is entitled to our vote. They should earn it. Preach, Y'all need to send an offering. Y'all need to send an offering on that one. Good morning, Brother Bishop John Daniels. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Rep your city, rep your town. I see Little Rock, Arkansas in here, the only state that's in the Bible, because Noah looked out of the ark and saw. Yeah. 413-337-1867 is the number here to chime in on today's conversation around Black Vote 2022. Welcomes in the Twitter space. Let me get E Spaniel up in here and see what they want to add to this conversation. You're in here with us.
Hi, good morning, Bishop.
Good morning.
Sending all these salutations from Seattle, Washington.
Seattle, all right, the rainy capital.
But there's nothing to laugh at here in Seattle, where it's everybody but blacks. Even though we have a large black immigrant class, the Africans, our brothers and sisters from the diaspora, look down upon blacks, and it is disgusting. We even have one guy who is only 36 years young, and he's a descendant of African refugees, and he's catching Hades, pure Hades, from the Seattle public school system, which has an agenda to kick out all of the black students. And he was purposefully put on the council to oversee that. But what he has now realized is that we do have an active black voting population. And a lot of blacks have turned away from the Democrats. They're now going for either the Green Party or other smaller parties. Mm-hmm. And this is a direct reflection of how the Democrats have abandoned the black. Really. They've abandoned all of us, really, because they're not taking into consideration police accountability, police reform, as what happened during the protests, the Capitol Hill Occupy protests that went on in 2020. It was a mess. I was there. And let me tell you something. A lot of people don't realize Seattle Police Department has the same type of reputation as LAPD. The only difference is the performing artists in Los Angeles have put it out there in performing arts, rap, art, everything. Seattle PD, let me tell you something. There were 6 on-duty officers that were there at the insurrection on January 6th. Yeah, 6.
Not surprising.
And it's really, really bad here. I'm part of a community organization where we have joined alliances with a lot of the teachers, the social workers, also public defenders, that's holding these police officers accountable. Even though on the surface, Seattle appears to be liberal, it is everything but liberal. It's a corporate city with a bunch of Republican and money holders. For instance, we have a city council member who's not a Democrat. She's actually a socialist, and she beat back recall efforts because she sided with Black Lives Matters. She sided with people who demanded accountability, and she's actually an East Indian.
And they wanted to recall her.
And her whole idea is to point out the fact that Democrats and Republicans are really on the same page when it comes to money, when it comes to policies that actually disenfranchise working classes and the poor.
And when it comes to white supremacy, quiet as it's kept. You can say certain things, and Democrats will walk in lockstep. Just say Jesus is black, and Democrats will walk in lockstep with Republicans in a heartbeat.
Especially when the city councilwoman got through a reform rent reform and rental concessions and eviction prevention. All she got through was making sure that people who were evicted, disproportionately Black, disproportionately Native American, disproportionately Hispanic, had legal representation at eviction hearings for rental relief. All Democrats and Republicans united against her to get her out because she demanded that Amazon pay their taxes and pay for social services, including homelessness prevention. Enough about that. Thanks for having me, and I'll keep listening to the word.
All right. Thank you. 413-337-1867 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation. If you're in the Twitter space, all you need to do is put your request in, and we'll get you up in the Twitter space. We're talking about the Black Vote 2022. Voting rights have been under assault, ever since we got them, and I just want to remind you all, listen, I need to remind you all that the Voting Rights Act was neutered in 2013. The Supreme Court basically neutered the enforcement of the Voting Rights Act. That's the reality. It's done. They neutered the Voting Rights Act, and there is no enforcement arm to it. It's still on the books, but if there's no formula in Section 4, then there's no enforcement in Section 5. And so this is the reason why everybody can do whatever they want to do. Pass whatever laws they want to pass. It's absolutely crazy. I'm being told on my Instagram that there's no sound. That's kind of crazy. Let me see what's happening here. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me make sure that this is limited to just the gram, and that way I can just restart my live on the gram to get it right. Everyone on the gram, who has no sound on the gram, put in there no sound. Or if you can hear me, let me know you can hear me. Okay, you can hear me. YouTube can hear me. Okay, Facebook can hear me. Can y'all hear me over here on TikTok? Let me know if you can hear me. So it's just Instagram. See, Instagram be playing. Like I told y'all, I'm going to start Instagram over again. I told y'all the gram be playing games. I swear they be playing games. They be playing games. Listen, they either restrict me from going live at all, or now, as you can see, they killed my sound. That's some crazy stuff. Let me make sure the Twitter space is live. Matter of fact, here's what we're going to do. We're going to restart the Twitter space, and then we're also going to do is we're going to get this sound. We're going to get this sound right. I promise you. We're going to take a short break. Don't y'all go nowhere. I promise you. We're going to get this thing fixed. All right.
say you sold out cause black women are loud and crass? What? And your precious white woman is the epitome of class? Are you so blind that you cannot see? That pale girl child ain't got nothing on me. For hundreds of years we have stood by your side, accepted your flaws and allowed you your pride, bore your children and cleaned up your mess, satisfied your lust and always settled for less. We have stayed in the background and allowed you to lead, trusting in your strength and ability to succeed, never getting the praise and credit we deserve, but having the courage, the will, and the nerve, for being the backbone that has kept it together, for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we do. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate was cracking the whip? In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side and didn't say a word, waiting for her own chance to rule and be heard. And now it's her you turn to and treat like a queen? And me and my sisters you choose to demean? Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter her shade. High yellow, red bone, or cocoa brown, we are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night. It is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual, loving, and kind. A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. For we give and forgive until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature of our soul, by our so-called brothers who are just playing a role. And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take a look in the mirror, because the answer is you. It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with a million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here, who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you with love. It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters, not Bo Derek's kind who rate a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellout to claim to be brothers: when you turn your back on us, you disrespect your mothers. Did you hear that? This. Talk to me, Eddie. Talk to me, Eddie. Talk to me, Eddie. Talk to me, Eddie.
A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why we call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this: within every seed there is a tree, in every tree there is a forest. Doing what you were born into, it's simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem. Dedicated to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. By the top, dedicated to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you. Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta still focus on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you gotta live long enough to learn everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta get back.
First you learn, then you earn, then you return. All right, I'm back. Hopefully I got all this stuff fixed. Oh boy, I tell you, technology is something else. It is the most beautiful thing in the world in terms of being able to get your message and stuff out. But it's made by man, so it's flawed, and sometimes it messes up and all of that kind of stuff. So, do I have sound now? Instagram, just let me know if y'all can hear me. Okay. Um, and I think everybody else is good. Let me just make sure the rest of y'all still got me in the house. We good over here on YouTube, Facebook side. We good on WTCC 90.7. Hopefully we're good. Those who are rejoining up in the Twitter space, come on in. Put your requests in. We're talking about Black Vote 2022. Voting rights been under attack, continue to be under attack. Voting rights, good. Coming in clear on IG, good. The Voting Rights Act was neutered back in 2013 in a ruling by the Supreme Court. They got rid of the formula that determined what municipalities, cities, towns, states needed pre-clearance and had to go through the federal government in order to change voting laws. And they said it was an antiquated formula. So they abolished that formula. So basically what happened was all of your bad players who had historically suppressed black votes were let off the hook. Your Georgias, your Alabamas, your Mississippis, all of those places could now pass laws to restrict voting rights. And
the Department of Justice could not step in and stop them. Only way to do it is now you have to go through the court system and you have to challenge it, and it takes years and years and years. And in the meantime, they have successfully suppressed your vote and put people in office that they want to put in office, et cetera, et cetera. So for all intents and purposes, we have no Voting Rights Act. And that's the reason why the John Lewis Voting Rights Act was sponsored. And that's the bill that Democrats can't get passed. You know, they can get Asian Americans a $5 billion anti-hate law passed. They can't pass an anti-lynching bill for black folk. They can't pass police reform for black folk. They can't pass voting rights for black folk, but they can give Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ. They can give bow-legged people, hunchbacks, one-eyed folk. They give everybody else something specific for their demographic. But when it comes to black people, we can never get anything specific, even though it was our vote that gave them the House, gave them the Senate, gave them the White House, and they think we're just going to buy, well, it's Manchin and Sinema. If you get Manchin and Sinema out of office, then we'll give you what you need. Every time they kick the can down the road. When Trump came into power in 2016, they said, give us the House back in 2018. Black voters gave them the House. They didn't pass voting rights. They didn't even put it to the floor. They didn't even bring it to a vote. They said, well, I tell you what, I know we got the House in 2018, but give us the House and the Senate in 2020. So we gave them the House and the Senate and the presidency. And what we get? Juneteenth as a federal holiday? That's it? I mean, it's apparent. Conservatives are clearly afraid of the power of the black electorate. All right. And they've been empowered by the gutting of the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act. The federal response, or rather the lack of federal response, affects not only black voters, but the power of all Americans to shape our government with our votes. You have to understand, this affects us all. Endemic racism basically obscures the obvious. An attack on black voters is an attack on the foundation of the so-called American democracy. But sometimes white folks don't see it that way. They just see, hey, it don't affect me. You know, so I'm not going to worry about it. It ain't affecting me. Let me get Melissa up in the Twitter space. Melissa, what's happening?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, sorry, wasn't quite ready, but ready.
All right.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. I'm going to speak on what I have personally come up with in the last 5 weeks. Okay. I have had to do business with somebody who is about my age, 63, but is a white conservative. And we've had several conversations that got kind of heated, but what it really came down to, you're not going to believe this, is her feeling is that black people get too much already and she doesn't get enough. So, so therefore she's not going to give them anything else because she's not allowed to have it. I'm like, the logic there just is
too much.
But they're also absolutely terrified that the population is changing. And that's part of the reason for passing the abortion ban. They need more white children, quite honestly. Right. But I'm like appalled. This this stuff's all tied together. And yeah, it's always the money, follow the money, but
it's interesting. It's interesting that you say
people have already been given too much already. I'm like, are you kidding me? And we had to stop discussing it.
It's interesting that you say that she said they get too much already. It basically what she's saying is they are getting the rights that we were born with, and that's not fair. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, and finally, about a week later, she just basically told me, she came in and said, I want you to know is nothing you're going to say or do is going to make me change my opinion. This is the way I believe and whatever. And so I asked her point blank, do you believe that Trump won the election? She would not answer. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
and
she's serious.
So it is all tied in, but the fear, the absolute fear of being that we, the right race, are going to now become the minority, and it's swinging that way because that's just the way populations work. And that's the other reason they're dead set against immigration, because pretty much all the immigrants are coming in and want the same equal rights. It isn't just enough to give people the legal rights if you don't enforce it.
Right.
And I'm also just going to touch a teeny bit on police stuff. I firmly believe that it's going to be very difficult to reform the existing police structure because there are too many right-wing embedded in police forces everywhere. But what I do believe we absolutely need to do is create a mental health unit that anytime there's a call that somebody's having a whatever, whether they have weapons or not, this mental health team goes out there and is the first contact, does everything first, by being safe. But because if I have to see, honestly, one more George Floyd video, one more police body cam video of them shooting some other poor young black man or young lady or whatever, because it's crazy. I personally can't take it. I hate injustice. I hate unfairness. And it is about damn time. I have felt that I have been fairly not racist, but I am learning that, I still have a lot of racist, unconscious, well-trained, well embedded, whether we like it or not, it's there, but I'm really starting to see it more and be like, okay, so I'm trying to become a good ally, but what I want is for all of us to have equity and equality, and I don't want to see it swing where 100 years from now, there's another minority that's being abused, race. That's not going to make life better for anybody. It demeans both parties. We need true equality, equity, reparations, and return property that was stolen, land, especially land. It's always the land. That's where most of the money's at. You know?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. Yep. You said a mouthful, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
I think I hit everything, but many, many blessings. The thing is that if we don't do what we did in 2020, 81 million of us vote again in 2022, these Republicans are absolutely gerrymandering, voting, changing one county, which used to have 164 voting spots to one, that you can return your ballot to. That's just, that has to be changed. We have to pass We have to end the filibuster, and we have to pass the John Lewis Voting Act.
Right. But the thing is, the Democrats have to have the chutzpah to get rid of the filibuster, and that's what they haven't done thus far. I appreciate you so much. 413-337-1867 is the number here. Got some more requests in the Twitter space. I'm going to bring up Crystal and Donna momentarily. But we're talking about Black Vote 2022. Black Vote 2022. With two voting rights bills held hostage in the U.S. Senate by threat of a Republican filibuster, Democrats are not fighting back with the same vigor that Republicans have used to trample on the rights of voters. They don't have the testicular fortitude. Or maybe, there's some women in there too, so maybe the intestinal fortitude to do what Republicans would do. And a failure of U.S. Senate Democrats to move on the passage of voting rights will ultimately be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If they refuse to fulfill getting rid of the filibuster and fail to secure rights for the voters who put them in office, their base for the midterms elections is going to shrink. And this is what I understand that they don't get. And if their base shrinks, it opens up the path for Republicans to take over. But yet and still, they don't want to do anything. They want black people to outmaneuver, out-organize voter suppression efforts. And that's not fair. And we ain't feeling that. Crystal, you're in the Twitter space. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha. I live in Texas, predominantly Republican, red. One thing that I would like to suggest to your listeners is for them, if they are in a red state like I am, get in touch with your congresspeople. Tweet, Facebook, call. All three of my legislators know me. I get invited regularly to Congressman Burgess's town hall meetings, even though he knows I am not a Republican, and constantly, badger all three of them, Cornyn, Cruz, Burgess, to vote, in good conscience, in good faith, on bills like this one for voting rights. What they did here in Texas is appalling. They're making it so difficult, not only for the black voter, but anybody of color to be able to go vote. It's as if we're back in the 1800s, right after the Civil War, where they're intimidating people not to come and vote. So I encourage all of your listeners, take a minute. You're on Twitter, tweet, call, fax, email, be the nuisance and tell them, hey, we need a good voting, because what affects all of us now is going to affect them as well.
Absolutely.
And they're thinking if they manipulate the vote to where it's, only white voters or Republican voters are going to be the only ones that are willing to go vote, then they're so sorry, that was my parrot.
No problem.
Sadly mistaken.
Absolutely. Completely agree. And we need to be in touch with them and let them know how important this is to us. And I encourage every one of you all to get in touch with your legislators and let them know exactly what is important to you as a voter. Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
413-337-1867. 6 minutes left in the spoken word before we transition over to Justice and Flow. Let me get a couple more up. But Donna, let me get up. Donna, drop. There she is. Let me get Donna up in here. Donna, You're in the Twitter space. What's happening?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Actually, I was listening to the conversation. I just joined on this morning. I'm always on your broadcast. I love you. You're an amazing bishop. I just wanted to actually reach out because I wanted the people on here to just keep me in your prayers. On Friday, I don't know if you guys watch the news at all, but on Friday, I actually lost my sister and my 1-year-old nephew. They were traveling from Indiana, and they ended up in a crash. The person she was with, her current boyfriend, had warrants out for his arrest, and he started driving away from the police and ran into a semi truck. And my sister and 1-year-old nephew were pronounced dead on the scene.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
just need everyone to pray with me. I am located actually in Michigan. I got called 2 days, and I was the one that she had listed for next of kin. And I'm currently actually not working, so I don't have no way to even get there to understand on what happened to her. So I just need prayer that God can strengthen me through this and that He can finally see me to getting to there.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely, Donna. You are in our prayers, and our condolences go out to you and to your family. And definitely send me a inbox, and we can see how we can help you out. Y'all say a prayer for Donna. She needs your prayers on the loss of her loved ones in that horrific car crash. Let me bring Drea up as the last one on this segment, and then we'll you all stay in the Twitter space. We're coming up on Justice and Flow after the 10 o'clock hour, and we'll continue our conversation. Drea, you're in the Twitter space.
Hi, Dad. I don't know if it's morning or afternoon. I'm in the UK.
All right, it's morning here.
Goes out to Donna, first of
Absolutely.
and everything else. I live in the UK, but I am a citizen of America, and I try to vote in every election and even in the midterm ones. And what I've found over the last 2 years with COVID, when I wasn't able to go back, something hinky happened with my right to vote. The good thing is I can go back and fix it, in person. Ironically enough, my kids, as they turned 18, I made sure they filled out the form so they have a right to vote, and they get all of their paperwork coming to them in the mail. They fill it out, they send it back, and they vote. They don't vote in all of the smaller elections because they don't know about it because they live here, but they do vote in a big one. And I don't understand what's going on, but I was thinking that was just another way to make it harder for people who are not there to vote. So I guess it's important to just look into that. I don't know.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Listen, here's what we're going to do. We are going to transition from the spoken word to Justice and Flow. If you're looking for a place to worship and you're here in the 413, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. We're located at 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. And listen, everybody in the Springfield area, this Friday at 10:30 a.m. at City Hall, we will have our annual Martin Luther King Jr. commemoration and flag raising. The Greater Springfield NAACP, in conjunction with the Office of Mayor Dominic Sarno, will be doing our annual MLK commemoration and flag raising at City Hall on this Friday. All right. So that's going to happen right here. It's fast approaching. MLK Day is a week from today, where we remember the drum major for justice. And I know y'all are out there quoting his various quotes from I Have a Dream. Y'all need to look up some other speeches because, you know, it's more than I Have a Dream out there. You understand? Dr. King also said, you know, I'm sad to say that most white people are racist either consciously or unconsciously, but y'all don't want to quote that one. Let me not get into that. Anyway, transitioning out of the spoken word. So for those of you who are on WTCC radio, and you want to continue, jump on our social media arm, jump on Hope Radio, and we'll continue with Justice and Flow. So for those of you in the Pioneer Valley and listening in Western Mass and Vermont and Connecticut and all those places, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you and so do I. Those of you who are in the other spaces, stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Good morning, Mother Green.
We're in the hizzy again. All right.
Good
Continuing
morning,
on.
Keyshawn. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Tyrell.
Another edition of Justice and Flow.
The second edition of the year. Second edition of the year.
I see some of you all were trying to call while we were on the break. Man, y'all must want to talk. 413. Let me put the number up here.
Well, you had an exciting topic going on.
337-1867.
Good morning, Mike.
There are 2 requests still in Twitter space. You wanna talk to them? And
Okay, well, we have a full show. So, do you have something you got to get to today?
um,
Because you always have meetings and stuff. So, I'm just wondering.
we're gonna do our full show.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let me see. Truth be told, you're in the Twitter space. Truth be told, I see you, objectivist, buying a badge on Instagram. Thank you so much. The rest of you all can buy a badge as well. You're in the Twitter space. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. What's on your mind?
Hold on. Let me have my husband turn his phone down. Kenneth.
Kenneth, turn your phone down, man.
Hey, Bishop.
How you doing?
I wanted to know if I could touch back on the vote 2022 for just a moment.
Go right ahead.
Harry Reid, the senator from Vegas who just passed.
Mm-hmm.
He influenced my niece greatly as a teen and was a great inspiration to her becoming a lawyer. I'm trying to convince her to run for office, but she says I'm not with this corrupt stuff. I wouldn't do well in there because I don't play those games. But in order to change a situation, you must be a part of the situation.
Be on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. So she's thinking about running locally, but she's a very smart girl. She's very aware of things that are happening in the world today, and she would make an excellent senator. I'm gonna put the senator out there. Take his place.
What part of the country are you in?
I'm in North Carolina.
Is that where she is?
No, she's in Texas. Who really needs?
Please run, because we definitely need some good folks in Texas.
Exactly. She's in the area that's supposed to be more liberal. I can't remember the name of it. Hold on a minute. She just sent me a Christmas card in Austin, Texas. It's supposedly the liberal area of Texas, but I don't know too many liberal areas in Texas.
Right.
You're right.
Exactly right.
So I'm gonna take this right here. I'm gonna take this, and I want you to give her some words of encouragement to go out there and do her thing.
What's her name?
Hold on just a second. Shantae.
Okay.
Folsey.
All right. Appreciate your call. Shantae. We need good people, especially good black women. Since you all are the backbone of this party, you all are the ones that have kept them. You're the reason why they're in power right now. That's just the bottom line. And so we need good black women in office as candidates for office, and especially in a place like Texas. And I understand Shantae's reservations. I'm not down with all that corruption. That's not my forte. I've said for years I'm more effective on the periphery, on the outside of politics than being a politician, because I just wouldn't be the guy to be compromising in backroom deals and all of that kind of stuff. But we need good, integritous people in those places. And it sounds like, at least from your aunt, that you are exactly that type of person. And we need people like you to run. You want to say something to Shantae, babe?
Yeah, I just, want to encourage, Shantae's and the Shantae's of the world, actually just to be encouraged and start local. Start local, and start the work locally, making a difference in your community, or whatever, and then advance, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, definitely be encouraged. This is the time. It's been time, but we're getting the recognition that we've always deserved. right now. But this is definitely the time to do it, and we do. We need good people like Shantae and other Black women who will hold to a standard and again change the current dynamics of politics and kind of maintain, what do I say, kind of maintain a mission of of serving the people. So yeah.
Right, sure. So, what was on your mind today? As we've been talking about Black Vote 2022 because we're here now. We talked about it all last year. Win the midterms, win the midterms, win the midterms. We're here. I mean, primaries are going to start in a month or so, month and a half or so. So we're already right here staring at the midterms as we speak.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important conversation to have. I just wanted to add this caveat, and then I have a question about it. But actually, the show today is a little bit different, so I have a couple of announcements to make before we bring our guests onto the show today. But I just wanted to add this caveat that there are some pastors all across the country that have gathered together with Mr. Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. I don't know if y'all listen to him, but he comes on Sirius XM, the Urban View on channel 126. And I've been listening to Mr. Madison for a long time now. And actually, he's probably one of the people, if not the premier person, that has kind of kept me informed with national events and things that are happening, specifically in the Black community. He's been on a hunger strike for some time now. And his hunger strike is to put some pressure on the Congress to sign the John Lewis voting rights bill. So there's about, I believe, Jamal Bryant stated yesterday, I think it's about 50 pastors maybe in the state of Georgia, which we know Georgia is a very important state right now. It's also the state that John Lewis is buried in and died in. So, it's significant, symbolic also. But nevertheless, about 50 of them have signed on to this hunger strike as well, to put pressure on Congress to sign this bill. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard that we want to get it signed before Martin Luther King's birthday.
Which is Saturday, by the way. Which is Saturday. And the holiday is Monday. The birthday is Saturday. Caller, go ahead, caller.
Hi, I couldn't figure out how to inbox you. It wasn't working, so on Twitter Space, so I wanted to call in.
Okay, then go to my either Instagram or Facebook, Bishop Talbert Swan, and shoot me an inbox with your info.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Joe has been, he's been stalwart for years. His former head of the Michigan NAACP and in Detroit, and has been fighting for years and years, and he's been on this hunger strike. And I know that Martin Luther King III has basically said the same thing. That we need to get this voting rights passed. Matter of fact, they were even saying, let's not do the MLK commemorations unless they pass the Voting Rights Act. I know a lot of people are reticent to do that because I think that, we still need to honor the legacy of Dr. King, who gave his life, so that we could have the right to vote and so much more. But they're really underscoring how important this is. And that's no matter how you vote, whether you vote Democrat, Republican, or don't vote at all. For those of you who say, "Well, I don't have to vote," yeah, you got the right to not vote. I don't encourage that, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have the right. That's the thing. Um, that your right should not be suppressed. You shouldn't have to go through extra steps that other folks don't have to deal with in order to vote. Like one of the callers were talking about making one place to drop off votes in all of Harris County, Texas, um, with millions and millions of voters. These are the types of things that they're doing, banking on discouraging you from coming to the polls and voting.
And don't sleep on these blue states.
Mm,
Don't think that voter suppression only exists in these red states, or whatever. A voter suppression is all over. It's everywhere. It exists here in states like Massachusetts, in a small city, a small metropolitan city like Springfield. So, yeah, there are some serious voter suppression issues that we have, and it's just crazy to me that we're having this discussion in 2022. But nevertheless, I do have this one question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but maybe somebody out in the audience can. Before we shift over into today's program, we do have a guest that should be signing on within the next few minutes. But what is the Congressional Black Caucus doing to? Well, I'm serious, to encourage those white colleagues and yeah. And
why are you playing?
I didn't finish my question, babe.
Why are you playing?
Stop the filibuster. I'm just curious. What is the CBC doing about that?
I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna let Brother Lecrae answer it. I'm gonna let Brother Lecrae answer your question.
Circles, I think I heard it all. We've been here before, but we need something more. Something more.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Something more. What you said, I can't hear cause you ain't talk about nothing. 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 Ain't talk about nothing.
Did that answer your question? They ain't talking about nothing. Okay.
Quiet? Are you serious?
Listen. And I know
Why would they be quiet?
there are people who criticize me for criticizing the Congressional Black Caucus. Let me tell you why. The Congressional Black Caucus should be speaking forcefully and unequivocally,
Right,
um,
unapologetically.
to the concerns of Black people. And the CBC far too often settles for these rising tide lifts all boats solutions that include everybody else. They are reticent to talk about Black people. They champion immigration and DACA. And I'm not saying that some of these aren't worthy causes, but they're championing everything else. And then when you talk to them about, yeah, but let's specifically deal with Black people, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. And that is disheartening because no other demographic feels like they have to include everybody under the tent. You know, the Latinos. Look, this is about Boricua. This is about us. They don't say, "Well, we got to go get blacks, we got to get Asians, we got to get gays, we got to get Native Americans, we got to get this, we got to get that, we got to get that." But the CBC always feels like they got to include everybody else instead of just advocating for us, and that's what is frustrating about that group and makes them seemingly impotent.
So I hope Shantae is still listening, because if she is still listening, this is what we need. We need some consistency. We need for people to be unapologetic, unashamed, and just overall fierce about having a Black agenda. and really advocating for justice in the black community. That hurts. That hurts to know that is the case. But I was curious. I hadn't been following it, I guess, close
Well,
enough, and I didn't want to make any assumptions that we're not hearing from them.
let me put it like this: the most powerful person in the Congressional Black Caucus is um, the majority whip of the Congress, and that's James Clyburn
Mm-hmm.
from South Carolina, South Kakalaki.
Mm-hmm.
And remember now, the day after it was trending, the day after Uncle Tim was trending on Twitter and social media because Tim Scott had the nerve to say, "Let me be clear, America is not a racist country." Everybody went in. Uncle Tim, as a play on Uncle Tom, and they went off. The next day,
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris said the same thing. Joe Biden said the same thing. And the most powerful person in the Congressional Black Caucus, Jim Clyburn, had an extended interview in which he said, "No, America is not racist." How in the hell is the CBC going to advocate for the concerns of black people when you have major members of its caucus, the most powerful member of its caucus, saying America ain't even racist to begin with? And
That hurts.
problem, my
That
problem
hurts.
with Democrats is y'all didn't hold Jim Clyburn accountable for saying that trash like y'all did Tim Scott. When Tim Scott said, "Oh, he's a coon, he's an Uncle Tom," well, then what the hell does that make Jim Clyburn? Just asking.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a valid question, and that hurts, like, for real. Like, that has my stomach turning. That's gut crunching. Yeah. All right, so that's sad. There's a couple of questions. It looks like in the comments.
You got a guest on in the
Yeah.
backstage.
Okay, so she's here. Okay. So let's do this then. Let's switch over to her. We can continue this conversation a little bit with her. I would love to get her perspective on it. And then I do have a few announcements, or a couple of things that we can bring back to the table maybe at the end of our discussion with her. But for the audience, today I'm bringing on to the show for the first time, and this is something that we're gonna do every month.
Hey, Reverend Free. I'm sorry. I'm holler. Go ahead, man.
All right. This is something that we're going to do every month. We're going to be bringing on our Ward of 8, a city council woman, Zeta Govan. So you can bring her up now, babe.
All right.
So Zeta's here with us today. She's going to be coming on, like I said, every month to kind of update us on, what she's doing, what the city is doing, and especially for those of us who live here in Ward 8, what's going on in Ward 8, and things like that. So she's here today. I have a couple of questions for her today. I want to, just want to have a conversation with her. But I'm also going to talk to her about something that she participated in starting some years ago. I think some 10 years ago, actually. So we're going to have a discussion with her about that too. Zeta, are you there? I just see a black screen, babe.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with her picture.
Okay. Can she hear us? I don't know. I don't know if she can hear us. She probably can't. If I can't see her, she didn't text me either. So while we're trying to get the technology together, let me just make a couple of these announcements. And then we will have our discussion and continue our discussion and conversation with Zeta Govan. Like I said, Ward 8 City Councilwoman, and she was just sworn in this past last week. Oh, there she is. Hi, Zeta. Can you hear us? Now she's frozen. Oh God. Can't hear you. Okay, so let me make these a couple of announcements, babe, while that's going on. First of all, let me say Happy Founders Day yesterday to my frat brothers, my legit, straight up frat brothers, a Phi Beta Sigma fraternity
uh,
January 9th, 1914, actually on the campus of
listen, you got to get permission from me before you be shouting out other
so
crap.
shouting out my frat brothers, the Sigmas.
Because you know you live in a home, you live in a house with two iotas.
And when your Founders Day came around, what did I do?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay, so I'm shouting out my frat brother.
You live with I.
Frat brother. So shouting out my founders, because if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be no Zetas. So I'm thanking God for the Sigmas. I'm thanking God for the Sigmas.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, all right.
This is Founders Month. The Sigmas, the Kappas, everybody's having their Founders Day. That's why we waited till September so we wouldn't be here in January with all the rest of y'all.
Okay, but anyway, and ours is on the 16th. So we're Z5. But anyway, so happy Founders Day to the Sigmas. Wanted to say that. I also wanted to shout out Judge Timothy Wamsley. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I think I am. But he is the judge that sentenced and presided over the Ahmaud Arbery trial last week, and he certainly sentenced and gave an appropriate sentence. And before he sentenced those three guys, and I don't want to call their names because I don't want to give them any glory, but nevertheless, before he sentenced those three guys, he gave them a really good, in my opinion, reprimand. And one of the things that he did in his reprimand that I thought was so impactful when I went and I reviewed it. And he said, I'm only gonna do this for a fraction of the time that you hunted this young man down. You chased this young man down. He said that according to the research, that they chased him down for a little over 5 minutes or so. And he said, I just want to have a moment of silence for a fraction of that time. He was like, I want to have a moment of silence for 1 minute, just so, we can get some content or some understanding to, how much time had passed and what he must have been thinking while he was being hunted down by you three, or whatever. And he did this moment of silence for 1 minute, and it seemed like it was forever. It seemed like it was forever. But I just wanted to shout him out, and I just really thought that he did a superb job. And let me be honest, I didn't think that was possible down in Georgia. I did not think it was possible down in Georgia. And, and I gotta say it, and Lord forgive me if it sounds racist or whatever the case may be. But, for a white man to be, to be fair and just, and to not only be fair and just, but to, hand down a sentence in the way that he did to these.
And not only the sentence, but just his commentary, the way
commentary, yeah,
absolutely. He rebuked them. I mean, sternly rebuked them and talked about how heinous that crime was, and how callous they were, and the fact that even the Roddy guy, people thought that he was going to soft shoe him.
Mhm.
And though he got life with the possibility of parole,
In 30 years.
he can't get paroled before 30 years. So basically, he gave him a life sentence as well. Uh,
Right.
so yeah, this judge did us justice in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's bravo, bravo, finally, and we do know that all white people are not racist, and or whatever the case may be. But when we run into somebody who is just and doing the best job that they can or whatever, I think we need to give them just as much recognition as we do the other. Amen. Amen. So thank God for Judge Timothy Walmsley, and so we're praying for him because we know that he probably getting it on the other side. He probably getting it on the other side. But I also wanted to acknowledge who, we feel like is the GOAT of Hollywood, the passing, the elevation of Mr. Sidney Poitier. He passed a few days ago. And so I know that most of us probably know about that. If we didn't know about it, now we do. But I had always been told about his social justice activities and kind of his philosophy in his trade and in utilizing his gift and his platform certainly to elevate Black people. But I'm learning a whole lot more. This man was bad. I mean, this man, him and people like oh Lord, now his name is slipping me. But his best friend, um,
Harry Belafonte.
Harry Belafonte. I'm sorry, I don't know why his name slipped me for a second. But people like Harry Belafonte, whatever. These are, I mean, some bad Black men, bad Black men. I mean, he left an amazing legacy. So anyway, we just definitely wanted to acknowledge him. And then while we're in this vein, we wanted to kind of shift to the church, and we are continuing to send out prayers and condolences to Bishop Roy L. Wimbush and his family and his passing and elevation, ascension into glory. Bishop Wimbush was an amazing man. He was so kind and so gentle. I had the opportunity of meeting him, of course, through you, babe. And every time he was just so sweet and just a real gentleman. And so, the church has really lost a giant. And then also Pastor Hubert Powell in Hartford, Connecticut, another big, personality, a huge person, certainly a leader in the church. We're sending our prayers, condolences, support, all of our love that we can conjure up, to the Powell family, co-pastor Powell, a beautiful woman of God, and certainly their three sons and grandchildren and all of their church family. So we thank God for them as well. Did you
All
want to say something about that? Zeta, I think you're good now. You good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good.
you go. Y'all in the hizzy. All right, I'm gonna let y'all two go at it for a little bit, and I'll come right back.
Okay. All right. Thanks, babe. Hey, Zeta.
How are you?
Good. Can you hear me good?
I can. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Yeah, I can hear you, and you're not frozen or anything right now. So good. So let's try to, take advantage of the technology while it's working. So I don't know. Did you get to hear any of the show earlier?
Not earlier. I had a client at 9.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so as you know, I've asked you to come back every month, and update us on what's going on with the city council. So first, let me back up and say congratulations.
Thank you.
On, not only winning, the Ward 8 seat in Springfield, but also congratulations on your first swearing in on last week. and that's the reason why you couldn't make it to the show on last Monday, was
Right.
because at the same time you were being sworn in as the first Latino woman, right?
And
Latino
Ward,
woman in Ward A, in Ward A, and like I said, congratulations. So my first question to you is, how does it feel? How does it feel?
oh wow. Honestly, and I put a post up there because I feel like right now I'm kind of like in a fog because we just did lose a family member to COVID. And the day of the inauguration, I put in my post, I was kind of like I was there, but my mind wasn't totally there. I think it's sinking in. We have a council meeting tonight, so I'll probably, you know, um, you know, experience some emotions there. But to me, honestly, it really doesn't feel a whole lot different. The only difference now, I think, is that I can maybe push some legislation forward that will help our city. Because I've been doing this work for so long at the community level, at the neighborhood level in Mason Square, Forest Park, Indian Orchard, and it's just an ongoing kind of battle that we continue to fight. You just mentioned Sidney Poitier, and may he rest in heaven. The work that he started, especially in film. I saw the clip this morning where he, I think, was probably the first Black man that was able to slap a white man on TV and let it go. you know and he had to negotiate that into his contract. I discovered where they weren't gonna cover it up, because the white guy slapped him. So he slapped back, and he said, I want that in the movie, and I want it to be in every version of the movie. Make sure that happens. And they agreed. And I think that was the first time that ever happened, because that was like probably 30-40 years ago, and that didn't happen back then. So to how I feel, I don't know, I'm excited that I can push forward some legislation that will address some of the systemic racism that we encounter on a daily basis. And we have, yet to see what that's going to look like. So I'm excited.
Okay, good. Well, I forgot to tell you again, my deepest condolences on the loss of your niece. I've been there,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And listen, everybody, we've been talking about it from week to week, and we're gonna keep talking about it. The fact of the matter is, we're still very much in a pandemic. There's no going back to what it was. Things are changing, and we need to change with it. So we need to do whatever we can, to safeguard ourselves and to safeguard others. So make the best decision regarding your health, for your family, for yourself, and for your community. I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't want to get into no debate about vaccines and all of that kind of stuff. But listen, let's take care of ourselves, okay?
Yeah.
And again, my deepest condolences to you and the loss of your loved one.
Thank you.
Also, here's my next question. So, what's next for you on the agenda? Like, what's like pressing you? You can't wait to get started on or continue or whatever.
So, I've been, I listen to the community a lot, and of course, quality of life issues is something that's very pressing to me in the city of Springfield, because we have a lot of people who want to leave Springfield, and I want to figure out why they want to leave. I want to help them to stay here. A lot of people this past week were talking on Nextdoor about the property tax increase, and how that continues to go up on an annual basis. And even though it's because property values have gone up, the increase hasn't been increased that much. I actually asked one of the other legislators the other day, how come we have to increase the property tax every year? When we have a surplus, we have ARPA money, we've been in a pandemic, can we give people a break?
Right.
So something like that. Those are the things that are to me. Of course, we just passed and the mayor actually appointed a residency commission to ensure that residents who live here are able to get the jobs in the city that they should be getting. You know, right now, there's been for the last 10, 20 years, people working in Springfield that don't live in Springfield. And I want that to change. That's the reason I signed on to the lawsuit, because, you know, that's how people live in the city of Springfield. If you can get a job, if you can, you know, are able to support your family, buy a house, live in Springfield, then people will stay in Springfield. And that's what I want to happen. So those are the kind of things that are kind of pressing to me right now. And of course, underlying, you know, all of those things are, you know, the systemic policies and procedures that have been in place for decades, and I would venture to say centuries, in this city and in this state. So those, I'm hoping those kind of things will address some of that systemic racism that's underlying all the issues that we encounter in the city.
So I'm glad that you're already there, because that was a big part of the reason why I was like dying to have this conversation with you today, but especially today, because I believe it was last week or maybe a little bit before last week, almost 2 weeks ago, that the news release came out that the judge ordered that the residency requirement be enforced. So can you go back, kind of slow down, go back, and kind of explain the entire journey to us? You know, of course, you know, I know we only have a certain amount of time, but explain the whole journey to us, because I believe it's like 10, 11 years old. Am I right?
That's correct.
Right. That's also the same time that ward representation, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so all of this was going on at the same time. So
Yeah.
explain the journey though of the residency requirement.
Sure. I think what happened was that people got tired, you know, about 10, 11 years ago, people got tired of, you know, the systemic racism, you know. And when I say systemic racism, I'm not talking about individuals who are racist, although they are, right? But I'm talking about policies that continue to perpetuate racism and oppression in our city, like ward representation. You know, at one time, all the city councilors were at large, and most of them were always all white. You know what I mean? So when we got ward representation, that was so that we could have neighborhoods represented on the council. And that's what's happening now. Your husband knows all this history all too well.
He was a litigant in that one.
Exactly. And then the other one is residency requirements. So a police chief, as was mentioned in the article, basically, you know, was looked over for a promotion. He was a black man. He's a black man. And he got looked over for a promotion time and time again over people who didn't live in this city. And at that time, you know, we got tired. And that's what needs to happen, I'm afraid. You know, it's really sad that we have to wait until we get sick and tired of being sick and tired to do something, because we could be doing something right now. And I think something will be happening soon because of what happened over the weekend. But, you know, people got tired, and we filed a lawsuit because the city wasn't budging. They were not interested in hearing the residents' concerns. They weren't interested in fixing the problem, because there was obviously a problem. So we, you know, we got together, a whole bunch of us did. You know, I feel my name, when I saw my name on there, I honestly forgot that I was part of that lawsuit. You know, because we have so much work that we've been working on for a long time, and we have a lot of work to do, but we have to continue fighting it. So I'm really glad, you know, one of the lawyers on the case actually reached out to me and congratulated me on winning the lawsuit and the city council race, of course, you know. And Arnold Lenzana, who was here, you know, for a long time, he was part of that, and he fought it all the way through. So I thanked him for his perseverance and for his continuing to follow that lawsuit all the way through. And we got it, you know. So now we're here. Now we have to continue to monitor and continue to, you know, push so that our residents get those good city jobs.
So how did the mayor put this commission together? How is he recruiting people for this commission?
Yeah, it looks like he got a lot of city employees and leaders to be on the commission. You know, and I don't know if that's what I would have done, but I'm not the mayor. You know, I thought that maybe some residents should be on that committee. I think maybe there is one or two residents. Of course, all of them are residents of the city, but representing residents, representing community people. You know what I mean? Maybe some neighborhood council people should have been on that committee. I know that Marcus Williams, the city council president, is appointed Mike Fenton to be on that committee. The commission, I think, it has the potential to do a lot of good work, and I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen.
Okay, yeah, well, that does sound a little bit concerning, that there's been no outreach more into the community where people can be a little bit more objective and neutral, with their positions. So, but this is just the beginning. So, we'll see what happens, ultimately.
Yes.
So I have a question. I'm gonna shift just a little bit. So, we had a caller a little bit earlier in the show, actually at the beginning of the show, at the top of the show, that called in, and she said that she has this niece that went to law school. She's a lawyer. She says she's very intelligent, very smart. She's African American. She lives in Texas, my home state. I didn't get to tell the caller that, but I'm from Texas, born and raised, all that good stuff. All my family's still there, all my familial ties are still there, very much in Texas. So what happens in Texas still is very important to me. And so she lives in like the Austin area. The aunt is really trying to encourage her to get into politics, and she said, I'm not interested because, the politics is so corrupt, and I don't, I'm not interested. I don't want to get caught up. I don't even want to, And so she asked for my husband to try to encourage her. She said she was taping a show. She wanted to encourage her. So I'm feeling led to ask you, about, your journey, as a, how do you identify again, how you identify again, if you don't mind, expressing that part. But I am interested in not only you encouraging her, as a Black woman and people like her, these other amazing women of color out there that want to do something or would be great politicians, but, don't want the shady side of it. But I want you to also talk about how you're able to maintain your standard, your focus, because I know it's very difficult for you with the way that you identify as a Black woman and as a Latino woman, and just as a woman in general, but certainly as a woman, a person of color, or whatever. So talk to her, talk to the Shantays of the world. Her name is Shantae. Talk to the Shantays of the world, but also, just talk to these women of color and how, to stay focused, but to also use the political platform to, also serve your community.
Sure. So as an Afro-Latina, that's how I identify. I'm a person of color. I'm a woman. In this country for centuries, women actually weren't allowed to do anything, until maybe the 1960s, I would venture to say. Women, of course, got the right to vote in early 19th century, early 1900s. But that was only white women that got the right to vote. So, the way I got into politics is by being in my community, and honestly, the first time that I ran for office because I got angry at the school system, because my daughter was being impacted. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I could say, that's how a lot of community people get into politics. Something happens that ticks them off, that makes them angry, and they get involved. And that's something that I would love to encourage our young people, especially even our older, like you said, strong women of color, to get involved before something happens that makes you angry. You know what I mean? We have a lot of work to do. We can do the work. You know, for centuries, this country has been led by men, mostly white men. And we know that, you know, men are very special. And they have, I feel like they lack that maternal instinct that we have as women, right?
What,
Oh gosh, Bishop
what
is
kind of special?
no offense, Bishop.
I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, if that was special or special.
That's how I always say it. They're very special, you know. But I think it's time for women to come in and lead. We lead our households. We in this country, women have run these households for centuries, and you know we do budgets, we do corporate meetings that we have to have in our homes, I'm talking about, right? So then when we go out here, we're able to lead like that. And that's how we have to lead, with compassion, with that, you know, maternal instinct that we have. And I believe that we'll have better outcomes. You know what I mean? And I've been seeing that. So I truly really want to encourage anyone who's interested, who might be interested, just to, you know, just do something in your neighborhood that you see is a need, and that, you know, it might happen for you and it might be great. Something that I have to say about Texas is, and no offense to anybody in Texas, but Texas is a really hard state to try, especially for people of color, to try to make any changes, you know. So I really understand, Shantea. I really do believe you, that, you know, you don't want to get involved. It's scary. You know, I always say Florida and Texas are two states that I say if I were to go down there, I'd probably get shot or because just the politics of it and the oppression that in those places, you know. And I always say, I think the last election, I said, I'll go to Texas and do some campaigning in Texas. I will do that. You know what I mean? Because we need to come together. We need to, you know, work together to make sure that we improve our outcomes, you know, so that we can stop the oppression that's happening, that's continuing to happen. I don't know, I'm sure everybody's aware of the voter suppression, you know, laws that are trying to be proposed, you know, and that's crazy. That is crazy that's what's happening, you know. So I see the comments. Who's Patricia Grayson? Hi. How the comments? Bishop said women are special too. We are. We're special.
We're very special.
So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I'm hoping she gets involved, Shantea. It's a very rewarding thing to do, and I call it community work. I'm doing my work in the community. That's what I'm doing on the city council. Any elected office that I get into is because I want to work for the community. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, doing something like that, I would encourage you to at least try it. You know what I mean? And see what happens. You know, you never know.
So how do you stay focused? Let's get real. Let's kind of talk about what Shantae was probably referencing, right, when she speaks of this corruption. So how do you stay focused on being a servant, you know, that upholds, you know, certainly a standard of integrity, right? When you are also simultaneously thinking, okay, if I don't get the votes, I'm not gonna win, right? So, you know, you want the endorsements of these groups and organizations. And let's say a group or organization, you have your, for instance, Black Lives Matter, you know, and they don't want to endorse a candidate, you know, that upholds the criteria of Black Lives Matter, you know, of any kind of social justice, because, you know, or whatever, for whatever reason. But at the same time, you want those votes. So how do you do that? You know, how do you do that?
So I think going out into the community and talking to the community, you know what I mean? If someone endorses you, and like I was at the polls on election day, and I was, you know, people were walking in, and one lady, she asked me, she said, "Are you pro-choice or are you pro-life?" You know, and that's a difficult question to answer, right? Right now, there's so many people saying, "Oh, I should have the right to choose whether I put this in my body," talking about the vaccine. But then they don't want to let women choose what they do with their bodies, you know? So something like that, you have to just, I am sticking to my morals and my values and my ethics. And I don't care who endorses me or who doesn't endorse me. The way I'm going to move is the way I've been moving, you know? On the campaign trail, a young kid basically called me ghetto.
Okay.
Because he said that, you know, I'm not as polished, you know, as the politicians, and I don't talk like they do or walk like they do.
So you're not as corrupt as
Right. I'm not corrupt like they are.
Okay, you're not corrupt like they are. Right.
You know, like you said, and like Tanisha always says, I'm unapologetic about the way I move. You know what I mean? And the head of my life is my God. You know,
Thank you.
God leads me, and He's showing me. He's giving me a husband who's supportive, who helps me and helps to keep me focused and
I can speak to that.
on the right path. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, you have to have your foundation, right? And if you want to do this work, it's hard work, because she's right. Shantae is right. You know, there's corrupt people and people want to, you know, give you a contribution to your campaign so that you could do them a favor later. And that's not the way I move. You know, I've told everyone who has contributed to my campaign, if, you know, don't think that something's going to happen because, you know, this happened. So
because you supported my campaign, right?
Exactly. And that's the way I have to keep moving, because I don't know any other way to be. You know what I mean? I can't lie because I can't remember what I said differently. I have to tell you exactly what happened.
Right.
You know, if I lie, I'm going to forget the lie that I told, and you know, tangled web we weave. So that's just what I have to do, you know. And so the real me, this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be. So
yeah. So what's your opinion, or what's your impression on how important it is to try to work together? You know, on the council, for instance.
Absolutely.
How important is that to try to work together, even if you disagree, you know, or your philosophies are different, or there's a disagreement, or whatever the case may be? How important is it ultimately to still try to work together, or, you know, can you in a lot of cases? I lost you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can see you still, but I can't hear you anymore. Check your audio. Baby, is it anything on our end to where we lost her audio?
No, we're good on this end. She just went out. I'm assuming she's coming back.
Okay. We still lost her audio.
Yeah, still no audio, Zeta. No. You guys were going so good.
I'm telling you. Wait a minute, she'll figure it out. How's everybody doing out there? Are we having a good conversation? Y'all enjoying this? And she brings up so many, you know, other little things that I wanted to touch on. Don't know if we're gonna be able to.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm sorry about that. I think a call came in, and
okay. And
I didn't know how to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I couldn't find it, so I apologize.
Okay.
So you're talking about collaboration,
right? Collaboration, working together.
Yeah, absolutely. That, I think, is vital. We have to work together no matter what. And that's something that I've been working on for the last 15 years in this city. It was my job at one time to make people work together on the Mason Square Health Task Force, which is very hard, you know, because people, you know, they want to get credit for their work. They want to be the leader. And in a collaboration, everyone has to work together. Everyone has to lead. You know what I mean? So my thing has always been, can you imagine what we could do if it didn't matter who got the credit? We would be a force to be reckoned with. And that's what I believe that we need to continue to do in the city, especially on the city council. You know, I believe that I'm able to work with anyone, you know, no matter what their views are, where they're leaning towards, because I know that at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. You know, if you ask a right-wing conservative what they want their family to be safe, they want to be able to provide for their family, and they want to be okay. You know what I mean? A left-wing liberal is what they call us or them. They want the same thing. You know, we want to be able to provide for our families and just have a good life, you know. So at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So working together towards that is what we can do. One thing that I have to always remember, and that we need to remind people, is that when we do something to help people of color, everybody benefits.
Everybody benefits. I tell it to people all the time.
Only white people benefit, and only some white people, because not all white people are going to benefit when you do something for white people.
Absolutely. But that's true. When you do right by the most oppressed group, you know, then like you said, everybody ultimately benefits.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that I've learned, you know, just by being attached to you, by you being one of my friends, and one of my sisters, is that there is a distinct difference between equality and equity. Equality and equity. And so, you know, for a long time I used to say, I just want equality. You know, in other words, I thought, you know, that I just wanted the same thing that somebody else got. But at the same time, when you think about it, what I really want is equity, and what I really need is equity. And the reason why I need equity is because no other group has been treated like my descendants, you know, or my ancestors have been treated in this country. So things were taken away from us. We were raped, we were murdered, we were lynched, you know, and all of these things, you know, or whatever. And so equality is actually not good enough. You know, it's not good enough. That's like, here is the white person that benefited from robbing my grandfather, right? So you got this land, you got this property, and you know, and maybe you're wealthy now, you know, or whatever. And but you stole it from me. I should be in your shoes, but I'm not.
Right.
So equality would be giving you $500,000 and giving me $500,000. So your wealth is increased. That's equality. But equity would be, going back and, you know, and looking at, you know, the fact that you're benefiting, you know, whatever. So giving me what you got, right? And then giving me the, you know, that I missed out on, you know, because that's equity, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's what we really deserve. That's not what we want. It's what we deserve. You know, it's what do they call it in the world of it's restitution.
Reparations,
reparations and restitution, right? Because when you know, restitution is when you've been violated, you've
give
been
back,
right, and so you know you're being restored, for what you lost, you know, or whatever the case may be. So I'm learning a whole lot. I'm almost 55. I'll be 55 in a couple of months, and I'm still learning, and I'm still very passionate about, not just because I'm a Black woman. The fact of the matter is, you know, that's the group. We are the group. I'm a part of the group that injustice has, perpetuated for centuries. Well, not just centuries. Since we've been here. So So yeah, so it's a lot of little comments, for you, Zeta. In I think this is Facebook that I can see. Bishop can see all of the different streams that are coming in, but
Mm-hmm.
Mark is out there. And Mark is saying that you should run for Congress, but Mark is always telling you, Mark says Zeta Govan for president of the United States, and I'm
Yeah.
like with Mark, on that,
Yeah, Mark is my
Mark,
big
yeah.
fan. Thank you,
Yeah, I
Mark.
know. Mark is dope. I love Mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's consistent, and and he loves you. He
Mm-hmm.
loves you because you're consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He supports you because you don't lie. You are a woman of integrity, high integrity. As a matter of fact, so it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get with me, fine. Thank you. I love I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't get with my values and my stance on how I see how things should be done, you still love them, but don't try to come on and try to make me conform to your
Mm-hmm.
ways and to your understanding of
Yeah.
things. So yeah, Mark, thank you. And Mother Green is saying a very informative conversation. Thank you, Mother Green, for saying that.
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
hoping to really build this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Zeta. And like I said, thank you for agreeing to come on once a month to not only update us, but to have good conversations
Yeah.
like this. So it's after 11, so we typically end the show at 11 o'clock. But I did have one more question for you. I love your perspective. I do. I love your perspective on history and on social justice. So in Bishop's show today, he was talking about the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that hasn't been signed yet. And of course, you already know what the Democrats are doing, and what's going on. And that's certainly building more and more and more frustration, for the Black community, specifically us as women of color who have traditionally voted. I never voted outside of the Democratic Party. I think I might have voted, locally for an independent or something like that, throughout my voting career. But traditionally, especially with the national elections or whatever, the big state elections, I've never, not to my memory, ever voted outside of the Democratic Party. So I'm probably one of those what they call a plantation Democrat. Whatever. That's what they calling us now. So I've been that. I have been that. I can't lie. About that. But I'm one of those right now today in 2020 that's really frustrated, and I'm really upset. We've made Black women down through the years, for longer than I've been alive. Have always been the backbone of this party, even when we couldn't vote. We was there beside those white women when they said, "Forget about them. You mean to tell me you gonna give Black men the right to vote before you let us vote?" And that's how they got the right to vote. But it was Black women who did all the work. We did all the grunt work then, and we're still doing all the grunt work now. For 60-some% of white women to vote for people like Trump. Whatever the case may be. But it's very frustrating, for us to be at this point in 2022. We got this major election, of course, coming up in this year, later on this year, or whatever. And we're kind of sitting back going, are you not gonna do what you need to do to get this bill passed? Like what in the world is going on with y'all? So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, and that's something that's been like so dear to my heart is voting, right? Because I always say, can you imagine if everybody in the city that was eligible to vote and was registered to vote would vote? We'd have a whole different administration.
Turnout.
We'd have a whole different city council, school committee, and things would be different. You know what I mean? And if our vote wasn't so important, they wouldn't be trying so hard to suppress it. You know what I mean? And I wish that people would pay attention and would just go out that one day and vote. You know what I mean? So that's something that I really hope. I was involved in the League of Women Voters, the Northampton branch, and we had a Springfield unit, and that's how we started it, because the voter turnout was like less than 5% one year, and we were disgusted. And women
several
voting was
years.
even less.
Yep.
You know, so we have to do something, and I'm hoping that, you know, maybe the election commission can do something. And I always say this, you know, because they're a commission, they have employees that are all year round, so why can't they do something all year round?
I know,
to get people to vote,
to educate people on voting, because I think what it's about
absolutely.
right now, the reason why
Absolutely.
it's right, you know, I think the reason why it's so much apathy is that people are not educated on voting, right? And they're not informed, you know. And it's somewhat embarrassing not to be, you know what I mean? So yeah,
Well,
so
and I
you
think
gotta
people,
get the information to them.
and
So
people are trying to survive. You know what I mean? And that's the oppressive system that wants to be maintained, so that people don't vote, so that they don't have time to vote. That's why voting is not a holiday in this country. That's why, you know, when it's time to vote, they close down polling locations, so people have to take a day off that they can't afford to take. So some of them won't. You know, so there's a lot of moving parts in that, and I really, really want to work. That's one of the things that I really want to work on.
Right. I heard a Republican say, I can't remember who it was, but you know, I think it was like The View or something, you know, and they was interviewing somebody. And I never heard somebody say this out loud, but you know, he did. He was, you know, he very matter of fact about it. And he said, we don't want everybody that's registered to vote. You know, in other words, we want to control the coalition of voters, so that we can sway the vote in the direction that we, you know, we can manipulate it in the way that we want it, you know, to be. And he was very matter of fact about that, but I never heard somebody say that out loud, because you know, I've always been of the philosophy, get people registered to vote so they'll go and vote. You know, we got 106,000 voters here in Springfield, and we were like excited when 27,000 of them came out, you know, to vote for Biden, you know, and put Trump out. Well,
isn't that crazy?
Everybody didn't vote for Biden, even in Springfield. But you know, but nevertheless, we was excited about 27,000 of that 106,000. But you're right. When 5,000 people out of 106,000 people are voting, you know,
crazy.
only 5,000 are making a decision on what's going on in the city, or whatever the case may be. And when you compare that to what's happening nationally, the same thing has happened nationally. You know, whatever, and that is sad.
It
you
is.
Know, that is very sad.
Yeah.
Bishop, did you have anything you want to say? Thank you so much, Zeta, for coming and having a conversation. We could talk all day.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, and I wanted to also say this. I don't even know if Bishop knows. Tell us the name of your business, your business, and what you're doing, and congratulations on that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I opened up my own private practice. I'm a social worker. I'm a therapist. So I'm doing individual counseling, marriage counseling, groups. My business is called Listening with Love.
Yes.
I don't know, the underline is Justice is What Love Looks Like in Public by Cornell West. So I'm gonna do therapy in a racial justice lens, so that we can address all the oppression, the trauma that we've experienced, that we continue to experience through the television that shows us, police brutality, this voting rights fight that we're in the midst of, that's trauma causing. So I'm addressing all those issues in my counseling practice.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Listening with love.
Yes.
Listening with love. Justice is what love looks like in public. That is a Cornell West quote. I love it. I love it. I love it. Congratulations again on that. I'm
And
right
thank
behind you. I'm trying to get it together.
Come on, girl. We need it.
Yes. I don't know. I might have to work for you first. I might have to work for you first. All right, Bishop, did
Look,
you
it's 11:14. Y'all got to get off.
I know we do.
I let her go into overtime.
No, because I'm a little
Thank
bit
you, Bishop.
I'm a
Thank you,
little bit
Lady
more
Swan.
long-winded than Bishop. Can you believe it? I'm a little bit more long-winded. But
No,
Bishop,
I've been on radio for over 20 years, so I know the hard deadlines and when to cut off and when to stop, all that kind of stuff. So you just getting into it.
I'm just getting into it. Okay, so that's the reason why. Listen, I wanted to make this announcement, and Zeta, you're here to hear it. I'm gonna start. Well, I'm starting what I'm calling Flows Film and Literary Club. Flows Film and Literary Club, and I'm
Okay.
making my two suggestions today. So these
Mhm.
are my first two suggestions. I want everybody to go and watch Women of the Movement.
Mm.
Women of the Movement is
Mhm.
on Hulu. All right, I want you to watch that first installment. It's 2 episodes. It's about Mamie Till and Emmett Till, but
Yep.
it focuses a little bit more on the mother and
Mhm.
what she had to do to get his body brought back to Chicago. So watch Women of the Movement, the first installment, and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, this Women of the Movement is also produced by Sean Carter, Jay-Z. To you rappers, music fans out there, Jay-Z is doing some awesome work with the kinds of films that he's producing and certainly investing into. And this is one of them, Women of the Movement. The other one that I want to encourage everybody to go and watch is on Netflix. And I'm really glad that I watched it. It was very thought provoking, but it touched my heart in all the right ways. Like I laughed a little bit, I could relate a lot, I identified a lot with it, and it was really really good to get more of his story and background, and that's the Colin in Black and White, the Colin Kaepernick
Yeah, that's good.
story. So it's called Colin in Black and White.
Yep.
That's on Netflix. So those are my
Mhm.
two film installments. I don't have a book right now, but we do have a book club in Wynn, so I'm gonna see where they are. I haven't been reading over the last few years since I've been raising kids like I did when I was young,
Mhm.
or whatever. But my hope and desire for 2022 is to pursue, that love again,
Mhm.
so pick that up again. I have bought some books that I ain't finished yet. That I haven't finished yet.
Mhm.
I read like the first few chapters, but I haven't finished them yet. So, but anyway, those are my first two film installments, and we're gonna be talking about these films, or taking some nuggets and snippets, out of some of these films and books and stuff that we're gonna be reading. So I'm starting Flo's Film and Literary Club.
Nice.
Flo's Film. Say that 10 times fast. But anyway, Flo's Film and Literary Club. Again, thank you, Zeta, for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
I really appreciate you. I love you. You're my
Thank
sister.
you. Love you too.
Right. And thanks, babe, for everything that you're doing, and certainly supporting the show and being here with us today.
All right, that's it, y'all.
Everybody, love you.
We're out of here. We'll check you all out
His birthday is on the 14th. Happy birthday, Mother
next
Green.
next Monday. It is MLK holiday. So I know on the spoken word, our theme will be around the MLK holiday. Hopefully, I'll have some clips and things to play of him. Some of the things that you haven't heard, not the "I Have a Dream" speech, but some other things. All right, out. See you later.
Hey,
Peace.
y'all.